is excused, or was excused earlier today, and our council member, Kelly Creeps.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum?
Great. Councilmember Creeps, I think we've got you to do the Pledge of Allegiance and inspiration.
Yes, please stand if you're able. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Despite progress we've made in various initiatives, today more than 30 million people in the U.S. still lack access to comprehensive, high-quality mental health care. This highlights the ongoing need for the Awareness Month and generating awareness and advocacy. 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 20 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year. 1 in 6 U.S. youth have a mental health condition, but only half receive treatment. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14 and 75% by age 24. In 2023, 20% of all high school students seriously considered suicide. So this has been, May has been Mental Health Awareness Month since the 40s, and the main organization that coordinates the campaign, although there are many, many, many organizations, including government health organizations and such, is the Mental Health America, and they pick a theme each year. This year's theme is Turn Awareness into Action, and it was chosen with the goal of celebrating the progress we've made in recognizing the importance of mental health and challenging us to turn understanding into meaningful steps towards change. So that website, which is MHA, Mental Health America National.org, has a lot of resources, from talking, testing and sort of taking surveys about your mental health and struggles you may be having, and resources to improve your own personal mental health, as well as ways to advocate for the broader community's mental health. One thing they did have is they have this monthly calendar, which just has one thing you can do each day to improve your own mental health. Today's exercise is today's tip is to try a breathing exercise to feel more calm and grounded. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold again for 4 at the bottom. That's actually called box breathing. And they're just each tip, each day has a little tip about improving your own mental health. It's just a really interesting way to stay present and think about how to improve your mental health a little bit every day. This Thursday, the 15th, is Mental Health Action Day, and there's a concerted effort from all of these groups to, again, raise awareness and really encourage people to advocate for their own mental health and the mental health of others in their community. And one of the easiest ways to advocate for the broader community is to share your own mental health story with friends and family, and maybe on social media, however broadly as you want to share. That helps reduce stigma and may inspire the folks that receive your story to share their own story. And on that note, I would like to share a story of my own on that in that vein. I think many of us here in this room are folks that are driven and achievement based and high type A type folks, and I've been that way most of my life. And there was a point in time in my career where it was too much, and I was taking on too much, I was doing too much, and I really, I looked at the list of burnout symptoms and was like, check. And looking back, and one of the most important thing I did was tell someone how I was feeling. And it was amazing how they said to me, oh, you don't need to be doing all of that yourself. Let's find you help, or let's help reallocate what you're doing so that you are maximizing your time. And it was like a literal weight off my shoulders. So I just share that by way of saying that, I think a lot of times we take on so many burdens on our own and don't realize that there's so much support and availability of help around us. And so I encourage you, if that's something that you struggle with, to talk to people around you and ask for that support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a very thoughtful inspiration. very important one. All right, let's move on to approval of the meeting agenda. Do we have any edits to the agenda, to tonight's agenda? Then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right. Mr. Garagosian, we need a report out from the closed session of May 8th.
Mayor, the City Council met in closed session on May 8th to discuss the appointment of a city manager, and no reportable action was taken at that meeting.
Thank you very much. All right, next we need the approval for reading resolutions and ordinances by title only.
Approval of last meeting,
Minutes.
minutes, meeting minutes.
It doesn't
I know.
Doesn't matter which one.
And I don't have the meeting minutes on here. So let's go ahead and, no, actually, it's the next item. So let's do the approval for reading resolutions and ordinances by title only.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, now we'll go on to the minutes. So are there any edits and changes to the minutes of April 22nd? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's move on to city council reports.
Please
Councilmember
don't
Creeps.
start with me.
Okay.
We'll go right to left, or
Let's,
left to, stage left to right, okay. On May 1st, there was a meeting of the Senior Community Commission. Really, there was just an update by staff, and nothing really reportable in that meeting. Usually there is. But I guess the reportable thing, and you'll probably talk about this, Mr. Mayor, is that there will be 2 vacancies on the Senior Community Commission. So if you're so inclined to be a commissioner and help out the senior community, make sure you get your application in, and that appointment will start on July 1st. On May 6th, I am the liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, so I was invited and attended the board meeting for the Chamber. The Chamber is doing great things, really trying to get more involved in the community with the business community and the community at large, getting calendars set and standing board meetings, things that they haven't really had before. The board has expanded. Really impressed with what they're doing. One thing that they try to calendar most of the year, and I don't want to scoop them or preview too much, but they're already trying to nail down the date for next year's Wisteria Festival, which it's my understanding it will again be on a Saturday, which I think went really well this year. On May 8th, I attended the first 30 minutes of the Older American of the Year Award for Heidi Hartman, and that concludes my report.
excellent. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, so on the 28th of April, I attended the Library Board of Trustees meeting, which was very fun-filled and lots of information came through. They were asking for some changes on how we report the progress with the library, the reconstruction, just putting dates of completion rather than days ahead or days behind, and I thought that made a lot of sense. Also, there's an RFT out for installation of the bookcases. It's one of the only items for the installation of equipment that needs to be RFT'd due to safety reasons. The Library Foundation has some amazing announcements. The Tournament of Roses donated $35,000 to the Library Foundation for our interior of the library. And also Disney employees, any Disney employees out there in Sierra Madre, any donation made to the Library Foundation, Disney will match it 100%. So please spread the word if you know anyone who works for Disney and wants to donate to our Library Foundation. And then Trustee Susan Gallagher gave a report that she attended with the Kensington of moving forward towards becoming Sierra Madre's dementia-safe city. So we train our restaurants and we train all of us in the city how to work with people with dementia. So if we encounter someone with dementia or someone who's lost in town from the Kensington or wherever, that we know how to appropriately help that person and support them. And then on 5/3, I attended the art fair, which was amazing. It was the nice sunny day.
The one.
The one day. And on 5/6, I attended the Sierra Madre Events Committee. Registration for the 4th of July parade is underway, you guys. You have to register by June 1st or you will not be allowed in the parade. And then we're gonna do something really fun that we are bringing back from the 1970s and 80s, is we are gonna have a community photo. So everybody in Sierra Madre, come to the park on July 3rd, put it in your calendars at 7:30, and this time we're gonna use drones instead of a gigantic ladder with a camera, and to take a picture of the huge spread of all of us in front of the band shell. So it'll be very exciting. And then last, we'll talk about tonight, it was Good School's 50th birthday, and I attended that with Supervisor Barger and a few of our other amazing leaders in our city. And they'll be presented tonight, so we'll go into that more. And the last thing is that the CERT class is almost done. They are going to have their final exercise on Saturday, and it's been really rewarding. And thank you to the Sierra Madre Middle School Service Club for being the victims and the patients on Saturday. They're going to have the whole moulage and everything. They're going to have wounds. So that's going to be really fun. And it's a great group of people dedicating their time to learn how to keep all of us safe in this community. So.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Now I'm ready, thank you.
All right.
So just after our last meeting, on the 24th, I attended a reception by the Friends of the Library, or they actually made the Library Community Foundation, talking about their fundraising program for the interior of the library. I think, as we've mentioned many times, our grants do not cover anything inside the building in terms of equipment or furniture or furnishings. So our great partners in the community are ramping up, and Councilmember Lowe, or Mayor Pro Tem, mentioned the exciting news about the grant money that they've received, and so they are striving somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5 million dollars, and they are edging closer and closer to having commitments for almost $1 million. So it's really exciting, and to the extent that you are interested in helping with that, not just donating, but perhaps hosting an event to help raise money or have other ideas on fundraising, please do reach out to them, because they are doing a great effort for our community, because it would be a shame to have a brand new building and nothing inside of it. Just books stacked on the floor. That's not really our goal. So, and then at the first week of May, I attended the SCAG conference in Palm Springs with the city manager and the city attorney, which is the Southern California Association of Governments. It's sort of like our local COG, but at a even higher level across Southern California. For that reason, the presentations are very regionally broad. Big transportation projects, big, region-wide, sewer, other types of projects, things that affect us at a very macro level. So, not as much to bring it back from that conference as we do when we go to the Cal Cities or even the other types of programs like that. But one very interesting program at the end was discussions about all of the regional planning going on for the Olympics. And so that was very interesting, again at a high level, but it was interesting to hear all of the transportation and other solutions that they're trying to come up with to make sure that having that many people here for that many days, I think they said it's basically like having, well, let me put it this way. The first gentleman to speak said it was like having 7 Super Bowls in one day, and then the next woman to speak corrected him and said it's actually like having 7 Taylor Swift concerts in one day. So
Every day
every
for
day
2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, right? So so you can understand the logistical challenge. So it was interesting, and I got some ideas about how we might, as a community, benefit from the increase, and I think it's going to be a matter of figuring out exactly what's going to be going on in our region and figuring out how we can participate, promote Sierra Madre, and put us on the map. So that was my week, my couple of weeks between meetings. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. So for my report, on April 23rd, the Clean Power Alliance had its Energy Committee meeting, and they're in the process of issuing a request for offers for energy projects, and those will be going out, and I think they'll make selections by the end of the year for additional renewable energy. On April 23rd, also on April 23rd, I went to a sanitation district meeting. There was one of the presentations they had there was talking about the challenges with the domoic acid poisoning, which is something I think we've been seeing in the news. Sea animals are getting poisoned by the domoic acid. They believe this is caused by algal blooms that are made worse by the warming of the water. They also at that meeting had examples of all-electric construction vehicles, including a mid-size wheel loader, a heavy-duty semi-truck, and a compact wheel loader. So it was really interesting to see what the sanitation district has done. I think there's 26% of their vehicles now are all electric. On the 24th, we had a meeting of the ad hoc committee, and at that meeting, the ad hoc revenue committee, and at that meeting, city departments presented revenue opportunities for the Citizen Commission to take a look at and to provide feedback on, and to help with their decisions on what revenue options there are for the city going forward. Also that evening, I stopped by at the tail end of the Library Foundation fundraising. It seemed like it was well attended, so that was really good, and I appreciate Councilmember Krebs for being there. April 30th, we had here in Chambers the Bookmark Contest Award Ceremony. It was absolutely delightful. Such creativity by the youth of the city. We selected 4 different bookmarks to be printed. We'll have more on that coming up here in the future. But congratulations to all the winners of that, and thank you to all of the participants. Then on May 1st was a board meeting of the Clean Power Alliance where we discussed the fiscal year 26 rate setting approach for electricity rates as well as budget priorities. Now I have a couple of city announcements on events. So the city of Sierra Madre is refreshing its website, and we'd love your input. So join the taco team, which is part of our communications team, at the Hart Park House tomorrow, May 14th at 6 p.m. to learn more and share your thoughts about our website, and light refreshments will be provided. The Hart Park House will be hosting Cinco de Bingo this Thursday, May 15th. There'll be games, lunch, and prizes. Registration is required. It costs $7, and for more information, you can call 626-355-5278. This Saturday, we have a community listening session. This is a community listening session about the Eaton fire, so please join us to provide your feedback. Your voice will help shape Sierra Madre's future emergency planning and response. It'll be here in City Council chambers from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then final announcement, we've got the community yard sale coming up on June 7th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Memorial Park. To register as a vendor, please call the Community Services Department, 626-355-5278. All right. Great. So now we've got our public participation code of conduct. This bright yellow card talks about our code of conduct. It's on the back of all the comment cards. If you would like to make a public comment, and we encourage folks to do so, please fill it out and bring it down. And take a look at the back of this as you're filling out that form. And now we will have public comment for any item not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any comment cards for items not on the agenda?
We do, Mr. Mayor. We have 7 speaker cards at this time. The first of the 7 is from Joel Goodwin.
Great. Mr. Goodwin.
Well, good evening, Mayor Parker and members of our great city council. Good to see all of you on this Tuesday evening. Want to express the art fair. Went to art fair a couple of times, and I was kind of disappointed in how the art fair was handled. I felt it was a little unusual. No food booth set up this year. No fun for the kids, and I found that a little unusual. I just was trying to figure out why when I was walking through, it's like very unusual. Just wanted to bring up that point.
Thank you so much, Joel.
Yes, thank you.
Here's Joel.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, the second speaker is Samantha Smith.
Ms. Smith.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Smith, and I live here in Sierra Madre. I'm a design consultant and I volunteer for the police. I'm working with the owner of Happy's. He approached me, Happy's Liquor, to do a mural on the side of the building up Baldwin in the large parking lot area. The owner, Burge, who from the Baldwin Jewelers, has agreed that he would like to approve a mural there that says welcome to Sierra Madre or greetings from Sierra Madre. And after researching for many months, I found the perfect muralist named Victor Ving, and he specializes in doing greetings tours. So he's going out to various cities and doing beautiful murals that say greetings from, and for example, Monterey Park was what they were working on today. I have sent Sophia and James Carlson the details, and we're asking for some financial help. When you have the right, mural companies come out, they can either be a local artist that can do an okay job, or professional people that really do a perfect job. So you get what you pay for. And so living here in Sierra Madre, I would love to help design and create this mural and have bears and wisteria and all the fun things. Mike, the owner of Happy's, said he is really into it being kid-friendly. So if people want to get involved and help, they can. And so that's what I'm proposing. And do you have any questions? Anyone?
So during public comment, we typically don't engage in a discussion. It's more of presenting the information.
Right.
I definitely think this is
I just want to
something.
make sure I didn't leave anything out.
I think this is definitely something we should take to the Community Services Commission. I think it would fit really well there. And we can have them take a look at it, and definitely they can give some feedback and start the process and get it up to council with a proposal.
Great. That sounds awesome. And then one more little thing on a side note. My husband has a recording studio. We have a lot of wonderful bands, and we'd like to put on like healing music, for instance, at the park concert for Mental Health May. But every time we've called, I forget the woman's name, but she says, no, we're booked. No, we're booked. But the park is always open and vacant. So that's my concern. If we could please get some more music concerts going, I think it'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Derek Sample, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Sample.
I'm Derek Sample. I live at 623 Woodland Drive. Excuse me. Our house was declared uninhabited after the fires, and we've been dealing with that for quite some time. Since then, we've been living in various hotels. My wife, unfortunately, had cancer at the same time, so it's been a bit of a struggle. But because of all that, I decided to do a toxicity test for heavy metals. I happened to find the guy who's everybody listens to. The insurers actually run away from this guy because he's so good. And he was able to have some time to come down and do the test, and we found incredibly high levels of zinc, and actually zinc isn't quite as bad as some, but unbelievable high levels of lead and vanadium and barium and copper and all the fun stuff that you're really not supposed to have in your house. So usually it's like 0.5 to maybe 1, 1.5, and we're at 188, 298, 340, etc. throughout the house. And so after sharing that test with some neighbors, we decided to kind of come up and tell you guys about it, just to say, if we have that kind of levels in our house and in the middle of the canyon in Sierra Madre, we're concerned about the rest of the canyon, obviously, as well. And so a number of people have come down, and we've also signed a letter as well, just that we presented to you, or about to present to you, just to say, hey, we could probably use some help up in the canyon trying to figure this out. So, Caroline?
Can I ask a clarifying question? When they test for the inside your house, because they're not testing for soil, obviously, inside your
Yeah,
house.
we didn't do an outside test, we did an inside test.
So the inside, they're testing like the walls or the,
They did
Fabrics.
just the surfaces of a chair. They did a surface of a bathroom counter, a kitchen sink, the middle of the living room floor. They just did ghost wipes, which are the appropriate thing to do instead of like digging into the floor, as an example. This guy does it all, proper. He's like the guy. He teaches everybody how to do it. Does it around the Palisades, as an example, and Eaton Fire. He is, like I said, the guy. So I watched him, and I was actually blown away by how careful he was about everything. And then it took about 2 weeks to get the test back, and it was 5 spots. 7 spots, and it was a very, very expensive test. And it was a little bit of a risk, but I was really kind of disappointed, blown away, et cetera, by the results. So,
You said you had a letter?
sorry?
You,
Yeah, we'll be emailing it to you as well.
yeah, please email it to us, and if you have the test results, please email it as well, so
Yes.
we can take action on that.
Well, you'll have them tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So I think she's next on the card. So.
Oh, okay.
oh, I see. I'm like,
We're just hovering.
Yes.
So I am one of the signers of the letter and a.
Could you tell us your name so we've got that
Yes,
for the record?
concerned
and so we
resident.
can-
My name is Caroline Helbin. I'm a resident of the Lower Canyon, and I'm here tonight to strongly urge action to address the lingering contamination from the January 7th Eaton fire. Like all of you, council members, Mayor Pro Tem, I care deeply about Sierra Madre and our tight-knit community. So Derek shared with you some of the results. We will be submitting not only the letter, but the full report this evening. But my job was to gather information from others who've had their homes tested for heavy metals. And I do think it's worth noting that we have lead readings as high as 188 micrograms per square foot, which of course, I'm not a scientist, so I have no idea what that means, but it is many times above the it far exceeds acceptable standards for health. Another test from a house on Grandview found very high levels of asbestos and other toxins throughout the home and outside the home in the soil. Scientists as far away as Caltech have found contaminated soil on their campus that required remediation. And the USC Department of Earth Sciences did 2 studies, and they found highly elevated lead concentrations in urban areas affected by the Eaton fire. I don't know if you saw the cancer risk that was reported in the LA Times, but it looks like Palisades, that the Eaton fire was about 5 times more carcinogenic in terms of long-term effects than the Palisades fire, not that either of them is acceptable in terms of public health. Anecdotally, I will say that there has been constant and steady illness in our house since the fire and the mudslides. And I know that there have been many respiratory illnesses in the canyon, and it does seem unusual as we're all kind of gathering at Mary's and talking about this. It does seem to be a very high rate. Also, we wanted to flag that the June 1st deadline for LA County residents to obtain fire debris permits, removal permits, is not maybe realistic given the scope of this crisis. So we are hoping that homeowners can get more time to test their soil and their interior. So the letter asked for 5 very specific things. One is to conduct comprehensive environmental and soil air testing in public areas and residential neighborhoods adjacent to the fire. 2 would be to establish a public information campaign to let residents know about the potential health effects of exposure to heavy metals and provide guidance on how maybe they can take some precautionary measures. The third item would be to develop remediation programs for affected areas. So first getting a sense of what's been affected and then developing a remediation program, maybe tailored to different areas, especially focusing on public spaces where children may be exposed. And the 4th and the 5th item are are to coordinate with county and state health department officials to monitor the health effects, and you may already be doing that. We would love to know that. In fact, you may be doing all of this already. We would love to know that. And the fifth would be to work with county officials to perhaps extend the deadline for debris removal for Sierra Madre residents, given how it may be impacting our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So we do have our listening session on Saturday, so I do encourage you, in addition to submitting your letter, to come to that community session on Saturday. Planner Lynn, Director Lynn, do we know who's going to be at that meeting on Saturday? Do we know who's going to, do we have county representatives, do we have FEMA, or is it just city folks that will be there?
From my understanding is, it will be all city staff that will be attending.
It'll be city staff, so we haven't called in the county or anyone else.
We can reach out to county from.
Yeah, let's see if we can bring in, because I think if you can come on Saturday to relay this information as well, I think that'll be really helpful. And if we can try to get someone, yes.
I want to note as well that LA County Public Health will be here at the next city council meeting.
Okay, great. So we have a couple of opportunities. Great. Madam Clerk, who do we have next?
Mr. Mayor, the next speaker is, and I may flub the last name, but Justin Starnes?
Okay. Well, do we have, well, hold on one second. So we.
There is one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Why don't we have you go first, and then we'll have Mr. Starnes go. So.
All right. I'm Yvette del Corazon, and I'm a Sierra Madre homeowner. Had my practice in town for about 30 years. I'm a very concerned citizen. I'm requesting that there will be an environmental assessment. More what Caroline already mentioned, pretty much, and we have very valid concerns. It's 19 times. The lead is 19 times what is already toxic. 19 times. It's very scary. I'm concerned about the health and safety of our community, especially our most vulnerable residents. I'm one of those, but there are many of us like that. I'm already having all these tests done. Health-wise, I've been in and out of the hospital because of all this. So I really hope you take this seriously. It is a serious concern, and I would like more updates on what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Justin Starnes.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, City Council members, just want to reinforce the severity of the situation. I mean, in our household, we have been sick more times since the fire than I think probably in the previous 2 years combined, and pretty gnarly infection-like symptoms that are just obviously due to the stuff that we're breathing. And you know, there are a lot of people out there that already have cardiopulmonary issues, respiratory issues. They are very vulnerable, and this could be a very, very serious potential issue. So just wanted to reinforce, you know, the urgency. So please help us get something going to help out the citizens in the canyon all around. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the next speaker is Deb Sheridan. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Sheridan.
Good evening, council members. Deb Sheridan, Valley Vista Drive. Carol Parker spoke for me at your last city council meeting on April 22nd about my concern with toxic waste, citing the sources that I had found. Last Saturday's Star News and LA Times articles are even more alarming. I'm here tonight because I would like to follow up on what Derek Sample discovered. I am in a soft cast because after the fire, the hard rain, the mudslides, and homeowners' extensive cleanup of their properties currently, somehow the debris found its way into my pipes and up into my home, and I slipped on it and I fell, which was nothing I ever expected. But merely anecdotally as well, several of my friends within the area have ended up in the hospital, one with leukemia, two with strokes, and others who have not been hospitalized, but they have had continuous headaches. So please take Derek's recommendations seriously, and once again, I thank you all very much for what you do, and I am also looking forward to Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sheridan.
Mr. Mayor, City Librarian Layla Regan.
Hello, Mayor Parkhurst, Mayor Pro Tem Lowe, and our honorable City Council. I'm actually here for the Sierra Madre Historical Preservation Society. Their chicken and ravioli dinner is happening Saturday, May 31st from 5 to 7 at the Richardson House, 167 East Miramonte Avenue. They're not here, so I'm promoting it for them. This is their one major fundraiser every year, and it's about $40. They have vegan and vegetarian options, even though it is a chicken and ravioli dinner. And they also help to support the Sierra Madre Public Library, so I wanted to make sure I let you know about the chicken and ravioli dinner. Tickets can be purchased on Eventbrite, so I don't have any place to direct you other than Eventbrite. Wanted to mention that.
Librarian Regan, let's make, if we can make sure for the next city council meeting, that'll be just before, can we get it in the announcement so we can make another plug at that time?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hopefully they'll be sold out by then.
I hope that would be a good problem to have. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, there are no other speaker cards at this time.
Great. Director Lynn, let's make sure we get the information from tonight's meeting and get it to the Department of Public Health so that they know the concerns the community has, and make sure that they address it in their presentation when they come in 2 weeks. And let's then also prepare for.
This is future action.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll put it as future action. Thank you. Okay. Then I will move on and we'll come back to that. No, please, that's not a problem. All right, now we can move on to our presentations. And so the first one, typically the mayor gets the honor of doing these proclamations, but we have a special proclamation tonight and someone who really deserves to give the presentation. And so we've got one to the Gooden School, and we're going to go, are they here? Or they? Okay, good. And I'm going to give the honor to Mayor Pro Tem because she is on the board of the Gooden School. So please. And, oh, yes, and an alumni. My apologies.
Graduating class of 7. Good evening. So I'm presenting this to the new incoming headmaster for the principal of the Gooden School, and I just wanted to say a little note that the Gooden School is the school that I attended from 2nd grade until 8th grade. I graduated in 1988 with a class of 7, and this school is very special to Sierra Madre. It was founded by some of our very important benevolent families in the city. So I'm going to read the proclamation to you on your 50th anniversary. The Gooden School 50th anniversary. Whereas in 1975, the Gooden School was founded by Colonel Reverend Canon Spencer Edwards through the generous support and vision of Michael Heflin, a benevolent local businessman, and his wife Kathy, who purchased the Anderson House across from the church along with 10 adjoining acres to serve as the school's campus. Whereas the Gooden School has remained small by design, fostering deep relationships between students, faculty, strong partnerships with families, and a culture of mutual respect and lifelong learning. And whereas for 5 decades, Gooden School has upheld a mission to offer an engaging, differentiated, and inspiring education, one that values curiosity, celebrates differences, and cultivates moral character. Whereas the Good Schools mission is to inspire students to be intellectually curious, resilient, while preparing them to lead lives of kindness, integrity, and respect. And the Good School reaffirms its commitment to cultivate academic excellence, integrity, and empathy in every school, every student who walks through our doors. I want to say that personally, this school has done this, and they still continue this mission 50 years later. It's one of those schools where your child goes and it's a whole family. Every child feels successful. Every child is academically challenged as well as loved. And it's a whole family situation. So new families that move in right away. We have one student that was there for 7 weeks now, and the mom said, I already feel like they know me. So thank you so much for continuing to provide excellent education in our city, and congratulations on your 50th year. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. All right. Now we are going to have a proclamation to our Older American of the Year. To kick this off, I would like to invite down to the podium Commissioner Carney to give a few words about our Older American of the Year.
Can I say that I'm so happy to see Commissioner Carney make her way to the podium. I remember last year having to come up to you to give you your presentation, so congrats on your recovery.
Well, thank you. Actually, one of the reasons I'm on the senior commission is because I did receive the Older American last year, and I decided I needed to give something back. So anyway, so Mayor Parkhurst, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, and guests. I'm on the senior commission this year, and one of the events that we have every year is selecting the Older American of the Year. And so we get nominations from the community, and the senior commission then considers everybody. And this year we selected Heidi Hartman as our Older American. Heidi has been in town since 1956. Her father was a developer, and he developed all the houses along what is now known as Sierra Meadows. So she's been in town a while, and then in 1969 she moved to Atlanta, was there until 1987 when she came back with her 2 sons, and she's been a special education teacher. When she retired, she got involved really very much in the community. She joined the Civic Club in 2004, and she's been a docent at the Wisteria Festival. She's on part of the Fall Scarecrow Festival and the annual Halloween window painting. Heidi is one of the founding members of Sierra Madre and Cancer Society's first Relay for Life, and was one of the 5 founding members of Sierra Madre Sparrow Foundation for Cancer. They do fundraising for events such as Hops for Hope, the Wine Walk, and the Wine, Rhythm, and Blues events. She's a member of the 4th of July Committee, and she sponsored the original July 4th Firecracker Fun Run, and then became active on the Mount Wilson Trail Race Committee. In 2014, Heidi began taking classes at Creative Arts Group. In 2015, she became a board member, and this year she's now the board president. In 2022, Heidi was awarded the Spirit of Sierra Madre Award by the Chamber of Commerce for her extraordinary support for the city of Sierra Madre through volunteerism, and that's only part of it. But in January of this year, she responded to Bethany Church's call for post-fire donations, and she organized there a donation center. Then it became a distribution center. Then it moved over behind the YMCA, the Youth Activity Center, and it's now called the Fulfillment Center. And she's still seeking donations because things that people need have shifted, and so she needs some things there. So I wanted you to know about Heidi. I think she's absolutely a wonderful person, and I'm so pleased that you're going to be giving her a proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carney. If we could have Ms. Hartman come on down.
No, that's fine. Oh, thank you so much.
All right. So, we have a simple proclamation tonight that does not do all the justice that that Commissioner Carney just gave, but it says Heidi Hartman, in recognition of the City of Sierra Madre's Older American of the Year, presented this 13th day of May by the Sierra Madre City Council, Mayor Robert Parkhurst, Mayor Pro Tem Christine Lowe, Council members Edward Garcia, Jean Goss, and Kelly Krebs.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. If you'd like, you can say a few words.
Okay. My favorite thing. I want to give some people some credit in the newspaper articles, a little different. But the Bethany called out in January for donations. I went, and after the weekend, I did my part, and then they said, we're good, and sent me down to the YMCA. The YMCA, being that they're the YMCA, had picked up the honor, I guess you could say, of becoming a donation center, and that's where I ended up. And so, as she said, it's now a fulfillment center, which can be kind of confusing to a lot of people. The donation center meant open house. Everybody came through and got what they needed. Now they come in and tell us what they need to last a week, and they can come week to week to week, and it can be food, it can be hygiene. We do not have clothing, we do not have furniture, but we do figure out a way to recommend them to other places. But I do want first to thank the Senior Commission for what they've done. I want to thank City Council. I want to thank the Community Services Department for the wonderful reception that they put on last Thursday. And I want to thank my friends and those who made that nomination for me, because I feel very honored for this this recognition. I hate this talking in front of everybody. You have to know. But I also want to just say that this is a community that my heart really is with. I've lived here for a long time, and then the 18 years I lived in Atlanta, I still was living here. I missed it, but I brought my sons back and reminded them that this is the kind of town that if they did anything they didn't want me to know about, I would find out about it anyway. And that's how I was brought up. And then my daughter as well, and we live here and we plan on staying here, and we love it here, and I will continue to do what just feels natural to me, is participate in making this town as great as it is, and doing my very best to make things better for everybody. But thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. All right, our next presentation is in recognition of National Public Works Week. So if we could get our Public Works employees to come down, we'd like to give you a proclamation.
Also our grand marshals for the parade.
National Public Works Week. People, Purpose, Presence. May 18th to May 24th, 2025. whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and the public health, an enriched quality of life and well-being of the people of the city of Sierra Madre. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public work professionals who are directors, managers, engineers, and employees at all levels of government who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, community forests, and other assets essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Sierra Madre to understand and appreciate the importance of public works and public works programs in their communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and Canada Public Works Association, celebrating the contributions of public works professionals under the name People, Purpose, Presence. Resolved, I, Robert Parkhurst, Mayor of the City of Sierra Madre, do hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to 24th as National Public Works Week in the City of Sierra Madre. I call upon all citizens to recognize and honor the vital contributions made by public works professionals and to participate in activities, events, and ceremonies that pay tribute to the dedication to their dedication to safeguarding our health, safety, and quality of life. Presented this 13th day of May, 2025, by the City Council of the City of Sierra Madre, Mayor Robert Parkhurst, Mayor Pro Tem Christine Lowe, Council Members Edward Garcia, Jean Goss, and Kelly Krebs. Let me just say, these people are often the unsung heroes. They are here day and night, fixing leaks, fixing roads, doing everything to make it so that we can live our lives here. And we cannot thank them enough. And I'm really glad that you guys took the time to be here tonight. So congratulations and thank you.
I want to stand again.
Get the wide angle.
I'll sneak in the back here.
Of course there's a picture.
You heard that water couldn't be here because I'm currently fixing a leak.
Oh.
I did not.
Is it on Highland?
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, thank you so much for that great recognition. As director of and supervisor of this great team that we have, and I cannot emphasize a great team. Day in and day out, 24/7. They are, in my 29 years in public works, this has to be one of the best teams I've worked with, and hands down. As I mentioned before, I'm a third generation public works. My grandfather, my father, now me. So I am really blessed to be working with this crew. A few words. This year, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, People, Purpose, Presence, beautifully encapsulates the spirit of public works professionals. We gather to celebrate those who often quietly work tirelessly to ensure our communities thrive. Their dedication to meeting the needs of the people, their unwavering purpose in serving, and their ever-present presence in our daily lives make a profound difference. And forgive me if I'm stuttering. It's just this is my passion, public works, and you really have to get to know these guys and gal. It is an honor to be up here to talk about them. Public works professionals are the unsung heroes of our infrastructure, from the highways and streets we drive on to the water we drink, to making sure our water hydrants are ready to go when disaster strikes. To the parts we enjoy, their work is integral to the quality of life we all experience. Next week, we take a moment to recognize those committed and celebrate the essential services they provide. Remember that public works is not just about infrastructure, but it's also about building stronger, more vibrant, and more resilient communities. It's about the everyday moments that make our lives better. So let us take this week and next month to show our appreciation for those dedicated individuals and for the vital role they play in our society. Thank you to all the public works members and across this great country of ours. Thank you.
Director Yanez,
They're also our hometown heroes and our grand marshals for the 4th of July parade this year.
fantastic. And Director Yanez, your passion for this is evident. We really appreciate it. And I was also informed here by one of my fellow council members that we did not have the water department here tonight because they're out fixing a leak. And so we want to extend the thanks to them. Here they are in the evening trying to make sure that we keep water to our residents. So it just underscores the value that they have and the essential contribution they give to the city. Thank you. All right, we're on to our last presentation, and this is, if I can ask Chief Bartlett to come up to present our newly appointed fire department personnel.
Yes, sir. Actually, appreciate the opportunity and the honor. So, good evening, Mayor Parkhurst, Mayor Pro Tem Lowe, and Council Members Krebs and Garcia. Definitely one of the, I know it's always said by department heads, but truly one of the honors when we get to recognize staff members, especially new members that are going to be joining our family, and thankfully to say make us whole. In almost the 6 years we've been striving to staff this career department, we reached that goal for probably about 2 days out of these 6 years. But I'm happy to say with the addition of our newest members, we are now fully staffed, and look to maintain that for quite the while. So if I may invite up, we're also going to introduce a special young lady here. JJ, if you'll come up, we'll start with her. Like to don't be shy. She's never shy. Just like to recognize the fact that we rekindled our reserve firefighter program relatively recently, especially during the career model. JJ was one of the members that joined us as a reserve straight out of the academy. And for many of the council members, you might have remembered her joining us down at Rio Hondo College Fire Academy for the live burns. That's when she truly joined us. From there, we saw that we had to strike quick, because she probably would have been swooped up by any department. Fortunate enough to see her potential contributions. So we were happy to offer her a job as a firefighter, single function firefighter, which is the EMT. And from there, as part of that, in order for her to maintain her job, was to go to paramedic school, which is a very arduous task in itself. And she took that on, basically went to some prereqs, there's a bug flying around here, sorry. Prereqs starting in August of 24, and then started paramedic school in September of 2024. 6-month program, quite the extensive program, as you can imagine. You know, paramedics are your first line of help on the EMS side, outside of the hospital, right? All the field work. So some of the things that JJ had to go through was lectures, classroom type of stuff, basic clinical, where she went to the hospital and worked there. Lecture alone was 454 hours, 4 to 5 days a week. The clinical portion was 216 hours. And then she did a field internship with Los Angeles County, probably one of the busiest departments and stations that she was assigned to. And she may have gotten more calls there in her short time than she will see here in about a year. But she spent 480 hours there. So all in total, 1,150 hours to earn the privilege of becoming not only a LA County paramedic, but a state accredited paramedic. And so with that, we finally got notification today that she has received what we refer to as her P number, which is her paramedic number, and we're just waiting on the actual card to show up, but it was confirmed that she is now officially a paramedic. So we would like to present to her with what our paramedics get. They go underneath our department patch, which is a paramedic rocker, which would make her official. So currently she's basically out of uniform, but we won't hold that against her. But AJ, congratulations. She asked if she could make a speech, but I'm not. But, thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. So again, I'm really happy that we were actually able to go basically, like I said, from a reserve program all the way into a firefighter paramedic. And we know it works, and it was a big investment on the city's behalf. As we had to accrue overtime, well, somebody filled her spot for 6 months. So thanks to my staff as well for picking up that slack, but she's going to pay him back in the long run, for sure. Next, I'd like to take the opportunity, like I said, we're fully staffed. We recently had a retirement in our engineer rank, so our firefighter engineer rank, which opened up a vacancy. We anticipated that retirement, so we were on the ball to find not a replacement, but another member, a retiree, Ted Walters, who will probably be honoring a little bit later, probably next month, hopefully. Definitely not a replacement, definitely a very valuable asset to our department. But we have hired Cyrus Skidmore, who, if you remember the name, was actually with us before. And yeah, I'd like to say that maybe he figured out the grass is pretty green over here. We're happy to have him back. He brings a lot of experience, especially institutional knowledge on the city itself. He spent, if I remember right, at least 8, maybe 9 years here. He's basically going to be coming to us with 13 years of fire service experience, most recently 4 years at his previous agency. And again, he'll be assuming the role as fire engineer on B shift. He actually started his first shift, and it was this past weekend. And due to family obligations, he was not able to attend tonight. But I wanted to make sure we recognize him. Our next newest member of our department family is going to be Darren Golterra. So if you would come up, Darren, appreciate it. So happy that we got Darren. It's going to be very hard to explain the value that this man is going to bring to our department. Darren has spent 27 years in the fire service, 23 at his most recent employer. But he's decided to come over and join the Sierra Madre Fire Department and bring all of his experience, which is going to be invaluable, especially for our younger firefighters to mentor and coach and be able to provide some of his skill set and his knowledge, as well as to our community. Super happy to be adding him to, like I said, to our department. And Darren is actually just finished his first shift as well. Actually, you were on the weekend. I apologize. Cyrus started last Thursday and Friday, and Darren Saturday and Sunday, so we threw him right into the weekend. But he will be a firefighter paramedic on C shift. And as with tradition, we'd like to basically swear Darren in under the oath, if we could. That would be amazing. And then we'd follow that up with a little badge pinning ceremony. But if we could.
I, Darren Golterra, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Thank you.
Keep that as a little memento. And like I said, Darren is actually joined by his family here tonight, his wife Janelle and his son Isaiah. Their daughter Isabella is away at school in Hawaii, of all places, so she's not. Oh, she's on FaceTime, so she's here. I love it. This is great. But I would like to invite his family up here, and his wife Janelle will actually do the honors of pinning his badge on him, which will make it official. Oh yeah, we can.
Last time I did this, I didn't have
This is also recorded, so you guys can take the clip later off of YouTube.
Thank you.
And so definitely to Darren and to his family, welcome to our family, and hopefully you guys will experience such a great community with great support. So with that will conclude my presentation, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Chief, thank you so much, and congratulations. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have 7 items on the consent agenda. City Clerk Aguilar, would you please read the consent items by title only?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The first of the 7 items is consent A. It's consideration of resolution 25-28 approving certain demands. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council approve resolution 25-28. The second consent item is a receive and file. It's the treasurer's report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2025. Item C is declaring the city vehicles and equipment as surplus. It is recommended that the City Council approve the declaration of surplus on city vehicles and equipment as listed in the attached staff report. Consent item D is the considerations of 2 resolutions, 25-26 and 25-27, proclaiming termination of local emergencies caused by the Eden Fire and caused by the 2025 mid-February winter storm, respectively. It is staff's recommendation that both of these resolutions be adopted by the City Council this evening. Consent item E is a consideration of a letter of support for the San Gabriel Mosquito and Vector Control District for the Eden Fire impacted communities. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council approve the letters of support going to various legislative offices and representatives throughout the San Gabriel Valley and the state of California. Consent F is the consideration of resolution 25-29, designating streets to be included in the fiscal year 25-26 street rehabilitation program. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council approve resolution 25-29. And lastly, consent item G is a consideration of ordinance 1482, amending section 5.04.110, payment of fees of chapter 5.04, business licenses generally, of title 5, business licenses and regulations. Mr. Mayor, this is the second reading, and staff's recommendation is that the City Council approve and adopt ordinance number 1482. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any questions on consent item A? Consent item B? Consent item C? Consent item D? Consent item E? Consent item F?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
F. Bingo. So my question, I think, is probably for Director Yanez, is whether there was just a notation in the streets that were to be included in the repair process, and it wasn't clear to me how the length of the section of Allegria that was meant to be included, because it says to the end, and I assume that it's not the eastern portion of Allegria, like our famous Halloween street. I think you mean to the end on the west side of town. Is that correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we were talking about the same kind of contiguous area.
That's definitely a good catch. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I wasn't going to ask a question, but since you're up here, I'll ask it.
Yes, sir.
Are any of these roads ones that are being heavily utilized for transportation of eaten fire debris?
No, sir, they are not.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on item F? Item G. All right, this is now we'll open this up for public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any cards for public comment?
Mr. Mayor, there were no speaker cards submitted.
Did we receive any emails on this item?
There were no emails received.
All right, I'll bring it back to the council. Any discussion?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous. All right, we're on to the discussion item of the agenda. Back to you, City Clerk Aguilar. You've got a report for us for consideration of summer schedule.
Yes, sir. I'll just go off of memory. Traditionally, Mr. Mayor, the City Council chooses 1 or 2 meetings throughout the summer to take a break or a summer recess. In the past, the City Council has discussed which options and which meetings would work for, depending on the forecast of meetings. It's not a requirement of the municipal code, and so it is before the City Council this evening to discuss if it would make sense logistically and feasibly to cancel 1 or more meetings throughout the summer. In the past, the City Council has traditionally canceled the 2 meetings in August to allow the city staff and the community, as well as the City Council, to enjoy time with family before the school year begins. The school year this year is projected to begin approximately August 18th, which would impact the first or the second meeting in August. And so that's one of the considerations that the City Council may consider for whether or not the meetings should be canceled in July or August. It should be noted that the City Council may decide to hold all meetings throughout the summer, may also consider canceling 1 or more of the meetings, and may also schedule special meetings in lieu of the regularly scheduled meetings. Mr. Mayor, I'm available for any questions.
Great. Are there any questions from council?
Was there a preference that staff had, the city staff had, on which days would work best for them?
City staff discussed it, and they're flexible in how they can make the schedule work. Traditionally, the school season the academic school year has begun later in August, and canceling 2 meetings in August was helpful to city staff and traditionally to the City Council and community. But with the changes into the academic school year and bringing it sooner, that's having that second meeting canceled doesn't really benefit the city staff and the City Council. So, if there's 1 meeting canceled, then they would prefer that it's the first meeting in August, depending on what the council feels the strategic goals and the forecast for upcoming items are.
And that was going to be my question, Madam City Clerk, is I haven't seen the forecasted agenda for July or August. Do we have any large items, if you know, that?
We did get it today.
We do,
Yeah, we got the forecast today.
Yeah, well, I didn't get that well, I didn't check the email
No,
yet.
I just in case you wanted to open it, I just.
Currently, the forecast for July and September is open and fluid because because city staff was hesitant to schedule media items in the event that the city council was considering canceling one of the meetings. And so there aren't any time-sensitive items scheduled for that period.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
Yes, just a follow-up. So you mentioned that if the council were to consider canceling one meeting, staff's preference would be that be the first meeting in August. Was there any discussion if their council was to consider canceling two meetings, whether that second one was instead of being the second meeting in August, being the second meeting in July, as we have done in the past?
There was some discussion on that. Staff is very flexible in that sense, where there is an understanding that there may be a lot happening, and so I think they would be grateful for one. If there were a second option, perhaps the second meeting in July would be a good option. Of course, that depends on also the council's schedule, and so staff would be willing to be flexible in that regards as well.
Thank you.
Great. Last call for questions from the council? All right, this is a discussion item, so we'll open it up for public comments. Do we have any public comment cards?
Feel free, public.
Mr. Mayor, we did not receive public comment cards, nor did we receive emails on this discussion.
Bring it back for discussion. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. I have an odd summer this summer, so I will miss the second Tuesday in July and the second Thursday in August. So that makes it a second Tuesdays in both July and August. So one thing I'll throw out there, it makes it a little disjointed and selfish. I'll be blunt on it. But if we cancel the 22nd and the July 22nd and August 26th, I wouldn't have to miss any, but I'm also open to having it contiguous so that it makes it easier for everyone else's planning. So I'll throw that out there for at least an initial point to have the discussion.
I appreciate that data point, and I'm sympathetic to your, believe me, I'm sympathetic to your situation. I would just like to say that I would like to honor staff's request for the first meeting in August, given that seemed to be a staff preference, and so that would be my only counter to your opening bid.
Yes. So is there a preference to last July, 1st August, or both August?
Last July, 1st August, and the reason I say that is because that is when school starts the next week after that, and that's when prices are gone down to being less expensive. So for traveling families right before going back to school, the best idea would be for them to have the 12th off to spend time with their families.
Okay.
Yeah, I would also, if push, I would rather the second meeting in July than the second meeting in August to go along with our first meeting in August. I don't know. Councilmember Garcia?
I'm sorry, can you say again?
So I would prefer last meeting July, first meeting August.
Got it.
Me as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar, and I may be coming back on a red eye the 14th, which leads into the 15th, which would be the first meeting in July. So I think there's a likelihood I could miss that meeting.
So just to be clear, it's the 8th and the 22nd.
Yeah, but so I'm saying, I could potentially, not be around for three meetings, but I guess if those are canceled anyway,
I don't think there's a meeting on the 15th, is what he's saying.
No,
Oh.
it's the 22nd.
Yeah.
It's the 8th.
8th and the 22nd.
The
because
8th, that's right. I won't be here for the 8th anyway.
Okay.
So that's when I'm leaving.
Okay. So you're going to miss the 8th.
Yeah, but I don't think that I'm not the mayor anymore, so it's not. I'm not going to be running the meeting, and I'm not the mayor pro tem either. So I'm probably last in line to run the meeting.
No, I think I am.
Oh, that's right.
Which is fine by me. It's not a complaint.
I I just wanted to throw that out there for full disclosure. So I probably won't be here for the 8th, if that trip, and then I will not be here also on I guess I will be here on the 12th. Just getting back from a camping trip, so my preference, and my preference when I was mayor, I think this was the first time we did that because of the school calendar, was to do the last meeting in July and the first meeting in August.
So it sounds like we're coalescing around last July, 1st August,
Can I
and
ask one question?
please.
Does anybody on staff have any feedback from Councilmember Goss on this issue?
To my knowledge, Councilmember Goss did not share,
Okay.
did not share
Thank you
his.
for- Then I think that I would advocate for last July, 1st August as the dark schedule for our summer.
I will make a motion to, is it cancel, is that the right word? Cancel our regular scheduled meeting on July 22nd and August 12th as our summer recess.
Do I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We turn it back to Fire Chief Bartlett for the fires hazard severity zones update. Chief Bartlett.
Sir, thank you. Good evening again. As Sophia sets this up, basically what I'm bringing forth for you today is more of an informational presentation as a receive and file. We will be following it up later this month, as I'll explain. We'll be following it up later with some more directives. But again, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. We'll be reviewing CAL FIRE's updated fire hazard severity zone, or what is more commonly known as FHSZ maps, and their implication for Sierra Madre. This presentation is intended to provide high-level education on how these maps may affect our city, our residents, and how they may influence homeowners' insurance coverage and costs. The goal of the presentation first is going to be, again, to introduce CAL FIRE's updated maps specific to local responsibility areas, or also known as LRA, just like Sierra Madre. Second is to summarize how these updates impact our cities and its residents. Third, to share what we've learned from our recent 30-day community survey. And finally, discuss some next steps. CAL FIRE assigns wildfire hazard levels of moderate, high, and very high. And those are based on several scientific criteria such as fuels, topography, local climate, and model fire behavior, including ember spread. As you may recognize, and we'll talk a little bit before, is prior to these maps, we only had very high as part of our hazard severity zones. The new for local responsibility areas, or LRA, are the introduction of moderate and high. And it's important to note that these maps do not show short-term wildfire risks, for instance, red flag conditions. They reflect long-term hazard potential. The goal is to plan for and reduce structural vulnerability over time. And in March of this year, CAL FIRE's office of the State Fire Marshal issued the 2025 recommended local responsibility area fire hazard severity zone maps for the city of Sierra Madre. It is important to note that local jurisdictions can elevate but not reduce the fire hazard severity zones for areas in their jurisdiction. So what's new in the update? This is the first update to the fire hazard severity zone maps for local responsibility areas since 2011. It includes data from 2003 to 2018 and incorporates new fire science, including localized ember spread modeling, improved climate projections, and recent fire history from across the state. The updated modeling presents a clearer picture of Sierra Madre's fire vulnerability and reinforces the urgency of mitigation and planning efforts. If you've looked at the CAL FIRE site, you've been able to see that there is some maps that are associated with the proposed maps from the state. And what we did here is, and actually on their site as well, hopefully this works out, is you can see, oh, it doesn't work. Oscar, is there a way to click, make the animation work? Okay, it doesn't work. But in the next couple slides, oh, there we go, thank you. You can see as it slides to the right and covers up what the new maps look like, it reveals where we used to be or currently are until we potentially adopt a new ordinance. I don't know if you can do that one more time, Sophia. I think it might actually work. So you'll see the addition of the orange and the yellow, the orange being the moderate, or excuse me, the orange being the high and the yellow being the moderate. The red still is going to be very high. As we go into the next, you'll see a side-by-side comparison as well. There's not a lot of difference, to be honest with you, other than for some of our folks, I think they'll be pretty happy. A lot of people got out of the very high. Many are still in the high, some are in the moderate, and even in our the northwest section, which used to be very high above Grandview, there's even a small sliver that is currently nothing. So those people will probably be extremely happy. And then we'll have, hopefully this will work out as well, a little overlay to where you can see the 2011 overlay on top of the 2025. It gives you a really good look of where we used to be on the very high, what's incorporated now into high or will be into high and moderate. But you'll see that the moderate and the high does extend down a little bit further than we've ever had anything. So some of the things that we will talk about as well.
Chief, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
So are these maps parcel specific? Because we have that one interesting, it almost looks like a pixel on South Grandview. Yes. And I asked.
I think we highlighted that for you. Just for your. We may know somebody that lives there. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I'm across the street. I'm still in very high. There's no change.
To answer your question, is they're not parcel specific, and they actually end up being cross parcel, if you will. And so it's not as defined as we had it before, which the line of demarcation was north of Grandview. South of Grandview, you were clear. So the easiest way is going to be for residents to basically, you can go onto the site and you could type in your actual address or street address, and it will tell you what zone you are in. That's going to be the easiest way. So even I would anticipate that if you have some of these zones go cross parcel across your backyard, front yard, whatever the case is, you're probably going to default to the higher zone, if that makes sense. So if it's cross parcel and you're in between very high and high, you're probably going to default to the very high.
Seems like my block on Grandview is the only one that remained very high.
And as you'll notice too, unfortunately, we just had a very live model come across town. At least in my interpretation of these maps, they followed pretty close what that fire did. Without the wind we know shifted. Fortunately, right before we had the potential for a lot more effect on the town. But I think considering, like I said, the modeling and Embercast, I think the maps are probably pretty true. At least just from my personal opinion, my professional opinion, I think we're looking pretty good as far as what they're putting out. Regulatory and insurance implications. Adopting these maps will influence how we apply building codes and defensible space regulations. For example, new construction in high and very high hazard severity zones may require fire-resistant materials and stricter setbacks. So that again will be we've always had that in the very high. That'll be the addition of the high as well now. Shameless plug, not really shameless actually, is some ways that we're going to be able to, or opportunities related to this. Again, plugging the Fire Safe Council. We've got that train on the tracks, and I just want to make sure that I keep plugging it for everybody to hear. We want to make sure that as many people as we can get involved in that.
Chief, can you give us an update on what's happening with the Fire Safe Council?
Absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity to be honest with you. We have a few residents that have done their due diligence and really looked at what they were really looking to step into. It's not going to be a small undertaking on their behalf, but we have a few residents that have decided that they want to go full in and be on the board. And the board is now looking at basically filing for a nonprofit status, 501c3 status, so they can get some funding that we cannot get on the public side. And they're also looking at bylaws, filing with the state, and et cetera. So they're doing a lot of homework. They're reaching out to some peers, other Fire Safe Council peers to get that support. And they're looking to build that and basically make sure that we have the horse before the cart. So we have had some interest in people that are interested in it, maybe not the board, and communication has been going out to them as far as statuses go as well. So we're hoping that it's going to ramp up relatively soon, but again, they want to be methodical about this and make sure it is successful versus just jumping into it and making it happen and not being successful. So.
Now that we have so much more information and education, is there a way, can we have the contact information or a link on our website to the Fire Safe Council so that people can get that email to him?
We can definitely do that if we don't have it already, to be honest with you. Okay. I know we do have a lot of brochures in the lobby and such. We will work with our communications team and see if we can get something situated on that.
Thank you.
But I appreciate bringing that to our attention.
Mr. Mayor, if I may follow up with that?
Go ahead.
So we were discussing Fire Safe Council. When I toured the canyon and other areas of the city with CAL FIRE, they also mentioned fire-wise communities, and I looked through the presentation. I don't see those words popping up. And they extended that if we become a fire-wise community, it could mean good things for our residents as far as their premiums on insurance. So could you, I think because it's within the scope of what we're talking about here, if you could kind of discuss what Fire Safe Council leads into how it leads into a fire-wise community?
Absolutely. They are two different entities, if you will. The Fire Safe Council, again, will be a nonprofit, its own organization that will hopefully be able to reach out to some funding, again, that the city is not able to obtain on the public side. The vision for this is for them to be the umbrella, if you will, for the fire-wise communities. And the fire-wise communities are very simply, to kind of make a relative plug, is to the neighborhood watch committees. So they could be blocks, they could have their own captains, it could be one and the same. It could be the same communities, a neighborhood watch committee could be their own fire-wise community. Basically, it runs from 5 or 6 homes to 20 to 30 homes. But it's sections of the community. And as we know, our town is not geographically or even the vegetation side the same. The canyon is much different than the west side and have you. So some of the needs, especially around vegetation, could be different. So they could be looking for different types of support as a fire-wise community. But Fire Safe Council will basically take in all of that and hopefully be able to help us educate the communities and the fire-wise communities, seek that funding and distribute some funds, hopefully that we can do some of that work on the private side. Maybe offer either rebates or incentives or whatever the case is for home hardening and retrofitting existing homes, looking at landscaping and vegetation management. So that's the whole auspice behind this. 2 separate entities that basically will work hand in hand, but one is really the fire-wise communities is really just individual homeowners or property owners saying, I want to be part of this. I want to make my particular home and property safe. And then when you just add it all together, you get that community.
correct me if I'm wrong too, at the CAL FIRE conference that we attended that session, that the Fire Safe Council and the FireWise communities, you have to apply, and they just did their applications almost the same time as the conference. So, and I don't think they redo it for 2 to 3 years. So they don't take applications they don't vote or take applications. I'm not sure what the terminology of the process is, for about 2 or 3 more years.
That is correct. The FireWise Communities, it is a national program, and so there is an application component to it, to where you have to check all the boxes, basically, and show that you have become FireWise, not only the home, but that particular community. And then you have to maintain some level of FireWise that basically they re-acknowledge to keep it going. You don't just get to wear that badge for eternity. You do have to basically state that we're still doing our job. So yeah, thank you for that point. There is a process to it as well.
Thanks, Chief.
Absolutely. So continuing with the regulatory and insurance implications, basically from a resident's impact standpoint, insurance is a central concern, obviously. And although CAL FIRE does not set insurance policies, insurers utilize these maps alongside private risk tools to assess wildfire exposure. As more areas are classified as very high hazard, some residents may face higher premiums, difficulty renewing policies, or being placed on the FAIR plan, which is California's basically their last resort insurance pool. This is why it's critical to work with the community to document and promote defensible space, home hardening, and mitigation. These actions can help mitigate premium increases and support future legislative advocacy for fair underwriting practices. Our outreach campaign included online postings, printed flyers, and town halls. And when I'm referring to our outreach campaign, is to make sure that everybody was aware these maps are out and are most likely going to be implemented and adopted in the future. So part of that is the fire department utilized the Survey Monkey platform to solicit and gather community feedback. And it was a 30-day survey that provided some valuable feedback from the community. And I know council was provided hopefully some slide decks, if you will, of some of those results. They're kind of detailed, and I'll highlight them here in this presentation. But some of the key findings from the survey is the majority of the residents that, again, participated in the survey are aware of the updated maps and know their property's hazard severity zone designation. Their top concerns included, obviously, insurance costs, development and limitations, accuracy of the maps, and code compliance costs. Importantly, 94% of respondents supported the use of scientific based data such as Ember modeling and local fire history to guide hazard designation. This demonstrates a strong public interest in data-driven resiliency planning. The forward path is the State Fire Marshal is mandated by Government Code Section 51178 to identify levels of fire hazard based on consistent statewide criteria and the expected severity of the fire hazards. Government Code Section 51179 requires the State Fire Marshal to make recommendations of fire hazard severity zones to local agencies as defined by Government Code Section 51177E for their designation and adoption by ordinance. And that is how the maps were developed and are now out for our consideration of adoption. So in such, City Council will review and potentially approve by local ordinance the adoption of the fire hazard severity zone maps as recommended by the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. The ordinance will be coming before you in a public hearing later this month on the 27th as a first reading, and again as a second reading on June 10th. in order to comply with the deadline of 120 days, which is July 22nd of this year. Once adopted, we will submit the required documents to the Board of Forestry and Fire Protection, and the new maps will then take effect within 30 days or by no later than July 31st of this year.
Chief, may I ask a question about that?
Certainly.
Are there any cities that either protest the map or increase the zone or change it?
To my knowledge, we've had plenty of talks, especially with, as we are part of the Los Angeles Area Fire Chiefs Association. So quite a few of my peers, and we just finished a conference last month. We discussed the maps as well. To my knowledge and from the feedback, nobody is going to contest them or not adopt them. Our understanding is not adopting them would be a bad move. For many reasons, we would probably lose out on any potential funding, and it would put our residents in a bad position with insurers. So adopting them at a minimum most likely will be the recommendation coming forth to you later this month. However, there was some discussion from at least one of our area departments on potentially increasing some of their areas to very high that were not modeled as anything. But again, that is dependent on the jurisdiction itself and the needs and what they're seeing. What will be coming before you, I'll have probably a little bit more in-depth take on my perspective, as well as our fire marshal consultant that we have through Wildan, and give you an overview of that later to come when we present the ordinance. But in a glimpse, we're not looking to do anything but adopt them.
And I noticed in this survey, one question is, do you believe local government and CAL FIRE should offer additional resources or incentives to help with compliance? And 83.87% of all respondents said yes, 0% said no, and 16% said not sure. Do you have the ability moving forward now and the bandwidth with your current department and personnel and programming to successfully help our citizens and our residents and our businesses with additional resources, incentives, and help with compliance?
We've made one step closer to having that bandwidth within the department, and that was the authorization of that deputy fire chief position and community risk reduction officer. And so when we find the funding and can fill that position, that will take us much closer to that. In the meantime, the other components will definitely be the Fire Safe Council, Firewise Communities. That will absolutely help us. And I think, just a combination of all that. But as we sit, to answer your question directly, no, we don't have the bandwidth aside from what we've really been able to accomplish so far.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Which is an amazing amount, considering you only have on-duty captains able to do this and on-duty personnel able to handle this and yourself, so thank you.
Yeah, staff works really hard on it. We're doing the best we can, for sure.
Have there been any meetings of the Fire Safe Council? Have they, like you mentioned, there's a number of people that have been interested, they've said they want to be on the board, but have they actually had a meeting and tried to determine a time frame and a pathway?
Yes, sir. Well, we did do a town hall.
Yeah.
We were introducing the whole thing and trying to draw some people in. That's where we got the residents that are interested in actually running this and being on the board. But again, from there, we're here to support as much as we can and guide, but them being their own entity. The board of which they have established so far is, again, they're meeting, they're talking, and they're trying to, again, get all their ducks in a row to set this, the Fire Safe Council up before they bring everybody else in. But they are still communicating through emails, and they're setting up websites to communicate to those that have expressed interest. We have received and put out there many recruitment type of flyers and publications and solicitations for those folks, and they will send us their contact information. We've passed that on to the chair for the Fire Safe Council. Since then, he's also set up his own personal or council, Fire Safe Council email, so he's also getting emails through there as well. So no official meetings yet as far as a whole group, but again, the board is trying to work that out. I will be in touch with them again very soon to kind of get an update for myself of where we're at, and hopefully I'll be able to report out on that.
Yeah, say a little bit more about the relationship, how you see the relationship between the fire department and the Fire Safe Council working, because recognizing they are a 501c3, they're a separate organization, they're not under city jurisdiction, so I want to make that really clear. But what are the roles that between the fire department and the Fire Safe Council?
The roles that I see, at least from our side, is a force multiplier. And hopefully the more people get involved, it's multiplying by that much. People that are going to be able to educate, first educate themselves, then educate all of our residents on the same things that we will be doing. So that's home hardening, that's vegetation management, that's how do we get prepared. That's talking to people about fire-wise communities and how to get involved in that, how to navigate that and get recognized as fire-wise communities. Have them at all of our events or city events with booths similar to CERT and search and rescue, to be out there and be a face as an organization within the city as many of our volunteer organizations do. But it's for us to basically run parallel together with the same information. And again, the best way I can describe it is a force multiplier. It would be like having a small fire prevention type of group out in the community. And the best part is they're neighbors, right? So most people tend to, put faith and trust in their own neighbors and see what they're doing and want to help support. So I think that component as well can pick up a lot of steam and really get us to where we're trying to go.
Who in the fire department is the liaison with the Fire Safe Council?
Currently, that is myself as the main liaison as they are starting up. Again, because they're just forming that board. The intent and the idea was to have the Deputy Chief Community Risk Reduction Officer position be that liaison to not only them, but to CERT as well and our volunteer organizations that the fire department basically sponsors. And so that's the kind of way I look at it as well, as we would be sponsoring the Fire Safe Council. But in the meantime, it'll be myself.
So I wasn't at the egg roll that the fire department, because the fire department had the egg roll, was that community services on Easter?
That was that's actually put on by the association.
That was the fire association?
Yes.
Okay. So when was the last event where the fire department had a booth?
Last one, I believe we were part of Earth Day as well. I wasn't there personally, but we were there for Earth Day. Most importantly, probably the biggest one was October for Fire Prevention Festival.
Yeah, that's always the big one. So,
yeah.
So did we have material on the Fire Safe Council at the Earth Day booth?
We were soliciting at that time as well with some flyers and such.
And when's the last time you've had communication with the Fire Safe Councils?
Most recently through email last week. Just a brief update, and that's basically what I reported out to.
Got it. Okay.
They're still establishing the board, and as you know, just navigating becoming a nonprofit is enough. Yeah. We're trying to help them secure the funding that they're going to need as well, which I believe we have to file, so there won't be any accrued cost for them. Trying to make it as easy as we can for them, but yeah, just doing the bylaws and everything else is kind of where they're up. So.
Are they going to be at the meeting on Saturday?
Okay. Smart.
After that request from you, yes, sir, Mayor, I will put that invite out tomorrow and see if we can't get at least the chair there to help solicit and bring some people in, or maybe even provide, if we have the opportunity, to provide a quick update of where they're at.
Great.
Very smart. I was going to say, could you also ask the the board to send some type of information out to their email list of all the people that came here and just communicate what their process is, that they're on hold, they're planning.
That has been the talk that we'll do. I will confirm that with the chair, just to make sure that's happening. But yeah, that's, in our correspondence, I said that would probably be a good idea. Just make sure that people are engaged still.
Other questions from council? So this is an information item, so typically we don't have public comment, but this is a really important subject, so I'd like to open up the opportunity for any members of the public who would like to provide comments. Do we have any comments for anyone on this item?
Mr. Mayor, we did not receive speaker cards, nor did we receive emails.
Okay. Ms. Sheridan would like to provide a comment.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation and for asking your questions, because there were about 100 people at the Fire Safe Council meeting, and I have at least 10 other of us that have not heard a word, and we've been trying to find out what's going on. So I think this is extremely important, and we're all so interested because we want to. Well, this is Sierra Madre. We want to help, and yeah, it's been rather frustrating that nobody's heard a word and we didn't know how to find anything out about it. So I thank you all.
Great, thank you, Ms. Sheridan. All right, any other final discussion items on this? All right, we'll move on to our final item on the agenda. This is on fleet electrification, and Analyst Lozic, it is all yours.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. So tonight's discussion underscores, if I can just get my notes ready. So that the state of California has enacted an aggressive mandate coming from the state that states that as of 2023, California Air Resources Board, which is CARB, it adopted the ACF Advanced Clean Fleet, which stipulates that beginning on January 1 in 2024, at least 50% of the city's new vehicle fleet purchases must be zero-emission vehicles. And starting on January 1 of 2027, 100% of the new vehicle fleet purchases must be zero-emission vehicles. So coupling with that, in addition to the vehicle purchases requirements, the city must adhere to annual reporting and record keeping under the ACF regulation. So beginning on April 1st of 2024, what this essentially means is the city was required to meet this regulation and adopt this compliance. As of now, that report has not been submitted. Excuse me if I just gather my notes. So under the staff report, if we could take a look at our current vehicle inventory fleet, the current fleet exists with specific criteria, and within that report that needs to be adopted to the ACF to meet this compliance regulation, there are very specific elements that I think needs to be reported to revamp our current inventory fleet. And so looking at that, the criteria that staff identified is we're missing items like license plate numbers, gross vehicle weight ratings, odometer readings, planned replacement years, charging site names, locations, and items such as that to report for the ACF criteria. If I could add one further thing. So the question that came up is, what is the penalty for us being essentially out of compliance without submitting this regulation to the Advanced Clean Fleet as of April 1st? So CARB has the authority, and I really want to emphasize this, to impose administrative penalties under the California Health and Safety Code of fines up to $10,000 per day. So with that said, the city hasn't received notification of this. In other words, the CARB typically issues a notice of violation of being out of compliance. So that, again, I want to stress that the city has not received that. So it leaves us with the opportunity of reporting this, getting our compliance, revising our inventory fleet, meeting the criteria, and fully understanding what's at stake here with the scope of these issues. So, in other words, staff would like to move forward with this immediately. And there's a few other parts I'd like to add. So going back, what this means, and looking at our staff report as of October 22nd of 2024, the city recently purchased 4 new vehicles. 2 of those were Ford Rangers. There was a boom truck related to public service work, and a Ford, if I get this correct, a Ford F-250. So what I would like to stress and emphasize is those vehicles meeting the compliance. They could have been EVs, and they should have been EVs, meeting the 50% compliance from CARB and ACF.
Quick question about that. Is there an exemption for public safety vehicles?
Yes.
Yes.
So which of those vehicles are public safety vehicles? The Durango?
No.
I'm sorry, the.
So the
none of them?
Durangos are, because those are the police, but
Yes.
what,
2 Rangers, a boom truck, and an
Okay.
F-250.
now, is the boom truck, because the boom truck is a utility truck, because some of those are exempt because of the gross weight rating. Is that-
That's correct. So a few items to unpack there.
Yes.
So the answer to your question, Mayor Pro Tem, is yes, that vehicle is exempt. However, submitting that report to the Advanced Clean Fleet, the city needed to submit an exemption voucher to the regulatory board. So, and again, we missed the mark on that. So following that, there are other exemptions. So it follows to police vehicles or emergency response vehicles. Those vehicles are exempt. And those don't need to meet the voucher requirements and so forth.
You don't have to get an exemption voucher, you just.
I don't believe that the reporting for those vehicles needs to go to ACF because under that. It's slightly different from the public utilities or public works vehicle.
Got it, okay, thanks.
Can I follow up? Just as far as the reporting, we don't have to report our current inventory of fleet. It's just our new purchases as we purchase them. Is that how the process works?
The vehicle inventory fleet does need to be reported, and there is strict criteria of what that is. So looking at the staff report, it is superficial in nature. And as I mentioned, that there are key elements that the current vehicle inventory fleet omits. And so staff would like to immediately pursue that with revamping that, collecting the information, and submitting that to ACF as soon as possible.
So categories such as emergency vehicle should be added and
vehicle type,
GVWRs.
vehicle type, service. So I'll give you another example. So what staff can do is do a full review, evaluate the lifespan of service, and properly give an estimation. When do we expect that vehicle to be retired? So I expected tonight's meeting to have the declaration of surplus vehicles mentioned. So Director Yanez has declared that 9 vehicles will be declared as surplus. So meeting that criteria and evaluating that staff report, 2 out of those vehicles are eligible to be replaced. So in other words, meeting the ACF 50% requirement, one of those vehicles that needs to be replaced would be, or would have to be a 50 or an EV purchase.
So let's say we have a, I'm not sure how it works. So let's say we have an opportunity to replace an exempt vehicle with an electric vehicle. Would that still count towards our 50%? Because it sounds like it wouldn't.
It would actually, and it's a great point you're making, because if the city is proactive, we can essentially require credits. So let's say we're fast acting, and if we want to meet a mark beyond the 50%, that can count ahead. So looking at the year of 2026 and 2027, we could be well ahead of that mark, and other cities have followed suit in doing exactly that.
Okay.
Have you talked to other cities about their reports and where they are, and like any learnings that we can have from them?
There are great examples, Mayor. One of them, and as we may have seen in the news, that made national headlines, is looking at South Pasadena. And what they've done is they've essentially mobilized their entire emergency fleet with Tesla vehicles. Now, Pasadena, or South Pasadena, is interesting because what they've done is, rather than purchasing, they've leased their vehicle fleet. And so that's another option of exploration. Now CARB has a specific regulation of how that works. The vehicles, if we wanted to pursue a leasing option, it would have to be 12 months. So, but it gives us more flexibility with regards to making an outright purchase. Obviously, the leasing would be more affordable. And looking at rebates, the vehicle rebates, looking at it from a federal and state level, they could be as high as $7,500 for a lightweight vehicle. A great example would be the two Ford Rangers that we purchased. And you could stack the rebates with other rebates. And so the staff report that we collected, it underscores a lot of those rebates, looking at the hybrid and zero emission bus voucher rebate. You can combine that with the Carl Moyer program. And I actually believe that we used that program, AB 2766, for the Chevy Bolts that we purchased. And so that's funding that the city receives that can also be applied. So those rebates and incentives can be stacked.
So have you talked to any cities about the actual reporting that was due on April 14th? Have you talked to them about their experience with it, any lessons learned, any challenges, how they completed it? Have you gotten any intel about, tips and tricks on how to do that report?
At this time, staff hasn't collected specific information related to other cities. As of now, it's only served as a comparative model of study. So in other words, there's been no direct communication. We haven't explored the relationship with other cities and what they've done.
And when did we find out that we hadn't filed this report?
Yeah, this would follow. So looking at this report, that's now begun the process, essentially.
So as a part of compiling this staff report, you realize we missed the April 2024 deadline.
Correct.
Okay.
So this is really spurring the
Sure.
the research.
When you've done any looking, you mentioned the $7,500 rebate. Is that a state rebate? Is it a federal rebate? Is that liable to be sunsetted as a part of the current federal budget process that we're going through right now?
That's a question that I don't have the answer to. There's a full gamut of financial questions that I have. A part of that, if you give me one moment. So related to our fiscal strategy, something that staff looked at was how would it be tied to the general funds, special funds, the enterprise funds related to water and sewer. Mm-hmm. We had our AB 2766 subvention funds, and how does that tie into any external grants or rebates? So there's a lot of moving pieces with deciding how that works. And so I do want to add that this is being mindful. We're only speaking to one half of this. This is only vehicles that we're talking about. There's a whole other side with infrastructure. So related to that, putting the cart before the horse in this way, we would have to critically analyze within the vehicle purchases what we're going to do with our charging stations. So currently, my understanding that the city does have a level 2 charger. but meeting these demands essentially with converting our fleet to 50% and beyond, what does that look like? So there needs to be strategic thought to the location, what type of charger, how much, and so on and so forth.
And wasn't that one of the concerns I've heard about the conversion that South Pass did? I've heard that there's been a little bit of buyer's remorse, I guess, as a way of putting it, because they didn't do it in phases, and that they've come, at some point they realized they didn't have the infrastructure that they needed to support a full police fleet of EVs.
Right, so South Pasadena, as a good example, the research that staff unveiled is they researched this for years. In fact, they unveiled a pilot program testing that exact idea and what that looks like. South Pasadena has level 3 chargers, which uses DC, which is a different sort of current versus the level 2 charger that you might see outside in our city parking lot. So that's more of a plug-in to the wall, but looking at something like a supercharger from a Tesla, that's something more related to what South Pasadena has. But I don't know the extent of their buyer's remorse, as you say, but it is something that we can look at and view.
How many level 2 chargers do we have?
My understanding is we have one.
Okay.
Right. Or I'm sorry. Correction. We have two, sir.
And they're both right out here at the underneath the police station?
That is correct.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, going back to the purchase of the equipment that was purchased, the fleet that was purchased, if this council recalls, it was in regards to ARPA. We were in a tough spot. We had to spend a great deal of ARPA funds. And we had a very short window of opportunity, and that is the reason why we made that purchase. That was brought as an agenda item to this council. I don't recall the exact date, and that's the reason why we purchased it. Should we have gone with the purchase of EV vehicles, we would have been able to buy maybe 2 vehicles, which probably would have still been sitting there today in our yard, because we just don't have the infrastructure to maintain it or charge it. Reason we bought the 4 gasoline-powered vehicles, again, was to spend the ARPA funds, and we purchased 4 very much needed pieces of equipment, which is the boom truck, which many of you have seen up and down our boulevard, putting up our banners. The 3 trucks that were purchased came in very handy during the disaster earlier this year, especially in our canyon area. That truck is designed specifically for public works, to wedge itself in narrow streets, and to also carry a certain amount of tonnage of load. It's a specifically designed bed, sand, concrete, wooden materials, etc. Yes, ma'am.
That just spurred on a thought I was going to ask earlier. Would this also be part, since we're putting so much extra wear and tear on our vehicles because of the fire, can you also put that in part of your formula? Because what would have been a 10-year span perhaps on a vehicle, like a fire engine usually has a 10-year span. Yes. We know that we used it so much more that it's going to shorten its life in our city because of the disasters and the mud flow. So one, I would like to have that added if possible. And number 2, can we attribute that to, our other resources and how we can try to fund these things?
Oh, definitely, and that's a very good point. Actually, one of our brand new trucks was damaged during the disaster due to the amount of debris that was in our streets. We're talking sharp pieces of rock, whatever. It really punctured some of our tires, punctured one of our converters, etc.
Wow.
Have you spoken with our grants consultant to help with identifying the opportunities and timings of any of the EV vehicle or EV charging grants?
I have not spoken specifically with our grant consultant, but I have spoken to Director Rainey in our finance department. This is something, the approach I want to take, especially with the new administration coming in, is specifically putting out 5, 7, 10-year CIP plan. And my vision is to, okay, this is what I could do with the infrastructure. This is what I need, specifically designed to the layout of our city. The yard here at City Hall. I would like to pick Director Rainey's brain a bit from a finance perspective, of course. This moving forward, and here he is now, Director Rainey.
Before we go on, let's come back around. I'd like to segment this into three components right now. So the first one, right, is that we've got this report that as I calculated, we're liable for $3.9 million in fines if CARB really wanted to address us. So what's the timing on the report? What do we need to do? How quickly can we get this legally required report completed?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Mayor. As we mentioned, the compliance is already past due. We don't have a calculation or estimation of how long this will take, but the sooner we act on it with council recommendation, the sooner we can move forward with meeting that requirement and updating the necessary elements to meet that compliance.
Can I have a question? Just procedurally, I'm not seeing that you need council approval to proceed with the reporting. So I guess I'm not sure what you need from us to do that, because I mean, it's a requirement under law. I don't think there's action by the council that's required for this. I don't know, Alex, am I missing something?
Councilor, I'm looking up the reporting obligation now. I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. I mean, I just am sort of, I understand the request for direction and with respect to, developing an EV plan and developing a strategy for compliance and all of that. But I mean, I don't know that you actually need our direction to do reporting that's required by law. So I would suggest we not vote on that, because that makes a.
This is an information item, so I don't.
No,
I
it's
guess
not.
we do. No, we do. That's
So
right.
I just would prefer we not vote on that and create some precedent that we have to provide approval for staff to do what they need to do. So I mean, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, of course, but I would suggest that, please, with great speed. Like, I don't think but you need, and you don't need council action to do so.
Yeah, it feels like they're almost requesting a budget amendment because they need more staff. As I think about this, going back to when I was onboarding, and I don't know if things have changed, and I don't think they have, one of the issues that I learned was that we did not have one person that was the fleet manager. Fleet was segmented amongst the different departments that we have in the city. So it's really difficult and inefficient to be able to gather that information. Not that we have huge fleets like some cities, but are we still at the place where we don't have a point person that is in charge of fleet? Because that's how it was 4 years ago.
My understanding is that from the public works perspective, we do have someone who supplies or provides additional information from our new vehicle purchases. That list is compiled through human resources from risk management, and that's kind of moved around into different pieces. So to answer your question, I don't know if there's one person who specifically manages that from a reporting perspective.
And a fleet plan. I think Director Yanez was kind of implying that, but having an understanding of, when he's talking about a 5 or 10 year CIP, maybe that's the process you're contemplating, but as far as I know, we don't have one individual or even a plan for fleet replacement, fleet maintenance, and all those things.
That is correct, sir. That is correct, sir. But during my onboarding, Director Semino advised me that Public Works overall as a whole is in charge of the fleet. We do
Including
not
fire and police and admin and.
What we're doing is we don't have a specific person. So Chief Barrientos, Chief Bartlett will come to me as far as we will be purchasing the X vehicle, and we will assist them with the purchase. As far as the bells and whistles, that will be the specific police department or fire department's process.
Okay.
They know what they need. We maintain the existing vehicles, we provide mechanical services, et cetera.
I just want to make sure we have a structure to then implement what we need to implement, because it sounds like we're getting there, but we don't quite have that structure.
We're getting there, and I was leading to, this is where Director Rainey would come in as far as, obviously, the finance part of it.
Takes time.
Well, it takes time, and of course, it takes a lot of money. So that is my goal. That's the plan I'm looking at, is the fact moving forward to implement the purchase of the vehicles, specifically to meet the EV requirements. at the state of
Are
California.
there vehicles ripe for this year that we could take advantage of state and federal rebates that that the federal lease are likely to go away that are ripe for replacement?
It may not be a vehicle, but maybe a generator, which is also a mechanical device. It may be.
Do the grants, do the federal grants or the federal rebates apply to generators?
I do not know. We could research that, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Along with, there's other public works equipment. For example, believe it or not, jackhammers. They do release discharge emissions, and that's something that requires a certain specific generator, along with hoses, etc. That's something that I would also like to look into. A vehicle, perhaps as a water tender, not used every day, but when it's being used, it's definitely discharging a lot of emissions.
And this might sound like a silly question, but going back maybe 2 years ago, maybe it was longer, I don't know, but Sergeant Bailey in the police department, he kind of spearheaded and implemented electric bikes. And so we're thinking about the way our staff gets around, and I think I would hope that's the spirit of this unfunded mandate that got thrown at us, that all modes of transportation be considered. So these bikes that were purchased for some of our patrols during events, could those be considered vehicles, or is that because they're so light and not, even though it's taking time them out of a patrol car and it's putting them on a bicycle? And for me, I feel like that should be credited or considered. I know we purchased them 2 years ago, but I don't know if that would be within the reporting cycle.
That
Have
is
we
something
considered those?
Definitely another good point. That's something we could also look into. And that's a very good point. You're removing yourself from a vehicle, putting yourself in another type of
You're not driving
apparatus.
a car
right?
now,
Exactly.
but you're still
Yeah.
doing your job. Yeah.
And which is the case with other cities, at least in my neck of the woods. The department there does patrol downtown in bicycles. I'll look into that, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions from council?
I just wanted to add, because it's an asset, and usually it's 5,000, with the GASB, it's anything over $5,000 is an asset, which we then go and depreciate. In a budget discussion that I had with Public Works and Utilities, one of the things that I suggested that other cities do is an equipment replacement fund, whereby you basically look at the useful lives of your vehicles and put them on a replacement schedule, like you do a capital improvement program.
So we don't have an equipment replacement fund?
No, we
Or-
don't.
Or we don't have an equipment replacement schedule?
I don't know if we have an equipment replacement schedule.
We do not, sir. That is something that we would also like to implement, based on the fact that we just purchased a loader.
Yep.
20-year-old loader. I do have other vehicles that are literally on the verge of way beyond their use. That's the idea of leading into, this is something we need to get on immediately.
And if you were to purchase a used vehicle, does that create any loophole if you're purchasing a used fleet vehicle?
Mhm.
Does that count for or against or neutral on the ACF?
It should not, sir. That's been the case here in Sierra Madre for some time, where we've been purchasing used vehicles.
Right.
That's something also I would like to look into, sir.
And just following up on Director Rainey's recommendation, are you suggesting, and here's how I envisioned it, so there's a cash flow, right? We purchase a vehicle. It's not all expensed at once because it's depreciated.
Right.
So are you suggesting that as we recognize a depreciation expense, we should probably have some kind of cash flow replacement of like to then be within a replacement fund?
Yes, it would be a replacement fund. It would not, it would not be that you're gonna buy a new one, but it would.
But as we
it would defer-
depreciate,
As you
if we're
depreciate.
saving, then at the end
Right.
of the depreciation schedule, we'd have enough. If we did dollar for dollar, we would not have enough because of inflation. But
Exactly, exactly.
But the
Because-
thought is to have that. Okay.
And it's because a lot of people forget, especially businesses, that the reason why you have depreciation is because you're supposed to put that money back into replacing that asset, usually investing or saving, so you have it. So if it does break, you have accumulated that. That's the reason for the tax break. What I've suggested that we look at is an equipment replacement fund, just as you would do in internal services for those departments that are using vehicles, to set aside in the budget every year a portion of that. Now, will that buy a new police vehicle? Will that buy a new public works vehicle? Will that buy a new fire? Not completely.
So
but
can I stop you there? I want to check with the city attorney, make sure we're not going outside the scope of this agenda report. And I apologize because I did ask the question.
Yeah, I think they're tangentially relevant so long as we ultimately decide we don't provide staff direction on what's not agendized.
And I apologize for that. As I was getting the answer, I'm realizing we may have strayed a little bit.
So are there any other questions we've got on the presentation so far?
So I just want to make sure that we have staff to do this. I mean, obviously we have to do it, but
Right.
I'm just concerned that we don't have a structure to do it because we're not doing it, so obviously there was no structure. And I don't know how council gives guidance. It feels like it's the city manager's office.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, City Council, to try and answer.
It's an important point, but I also want to make sure we're following the direction on the agenda or the process here. That sounds like a discussion item. So let's tee that up with discussion. Let me pause for a second. Let's open it up for public comment and see if there's any public comment. Madam Clerk, have we received any cards for public comment?
We did not, Mr. Mayor, nor did we receive emails.
Okay, now I'll bring it back and let's make that the top part of the discussion. I think you're absolutely right, Councilmember Garcia, that this is an unfunded mandate. And now, when you say unfunded mandate, what portion are you talking about? The development of the plan, the compliance with the CARB's rule? What part of it?
So the development of the plan, because this is not a plan that we already have existing, and also the requirement of infrastructure, because infrastructure is already there for a gas pump, right?
Yeah.
We already have that infrastructure at our city yard, and we can also go to a private gas station. But
we could also go to a private charging station. I mean, there are chargers in our area just as much as there are.
But
gas
then
stations.
that would be even more staff time that somebody have to sit with the vehicle rather than them charging overnight in our city yards.
No, understood. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying, like, if you're
go ahead.
drawing the comparison to gas stations, there is a corollary.
Understood. But that's how I see it as an unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
And you know.
There's I'm wrestling with this because there's a couple of different things. There's one that it's something that I'd like our city to do, but
Oh, yeah.
but we've got the staff constraint. We also have we have to actually do parts of this, right? We have to go and be purchasing these vehicles. So at some level,
Well, we have to report. I think that's the part that we have to do.
but we also have to purchase.
As we purchase, we need to
Right.
replace with 50%. That's how I read it.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion just in terms of organizing the discussion
Yes,
and
please.
organizing the approach? To me, the critical issue raised by this report is obviously the past due reporting and the need to report. Can I suggest, and obviously as part of addressing the reporting, there's going to need to be some at least preliminary plan that we're going to have to, I assume we have to put into the report. I would suggest, given the urgency of this, that's what we focus on, and maybe there's a staffing issue there as well. But then I think the next step about actually developing a plan, I mean, as evidenced by the discussion tonight, there's a lot open, and I don't know that we're at this point prepared to actually talk about what developing a fleet plan looks like, and I'm not sure that staff is ready to provide that. And so I would like to just focus on fulfilling our requirements, and obviously there's going to be a little of a Band-Aid there because we're not going to have the time to put together a complete fleet management program before we have to report. So there's going to be a little bit of inefficiency there for sure, but I don't know, that's how I would like to.
So I completely support and agree that we need to do the reporting and do it as quickly as possible. But I also, I'm trying to understand, because earlier you said you didn't want to vote on the.
Right, I don't want to vote on having, I don't want to take a vote on directing staff to fulfill legal obligations. So I'm just saying that, like, I would actually, in terms of structuring how we approach this issue in general, is that tonight we say we're not going to take, this would be my position, we're not going to take specific action on directing development of a fleet plan, but we think that, and so there wouldn't be necessarily a vote, but that we would expect that staff would work to bring us into compliance, and that we could come back on another session and actually do a more comprehensive discussion and review of what a fleet plan would look like. I know it's a little disjointed.
So,
but
Can I ask a question for the reporting? For the reporting, does it let you say, we aren't at this stage yet, here we are looking into planning, like, for instance, when we have evaluations and reports done at state and local levels, there's a contingency that if you haven't done this yet, what is your plan to get to that point? So on your reporting, is there an ability to say, we do not have a fleet management plan yet, we are implementing that?
But is the fleet management plan part of the reporting?
I was just giving that as
The
an
fleet
example.
management plan is part of it, actually, but there are alternatives. There are milestones, which is the alternative. The staff report lays that out. But I do want to say, and we will be required to opt into that if we did want to pursue the milestone option. There are percentages of entire fleet conversions. So the percentage of our fleet would have to be converted. So the way that works out in different intervals is next year, 10% of our fleet would have to be converted. So strategically, as a city, we make collectively 1 to 3 vehicle purchases per year. So from the staff recommendation, it would make more sense if we just pursue the conventional plan rather than that alternative conversion.
So there is, so kind of, let me finish up that, because I'm not understanding fully my question, my answer. So we either have to opt into a milestone plan, or we come up with a complete report of everything with the fleet management and every single criteria is met.
Yes,
Nothing in
but
between.
I do believe that we would have to articulate and at least communicate what those details are for both plans.
So do you need council's feedback on which approach to take?
Correct.
And do you need to do that before you complete the report that was due a year ago?
Correct.
So we have to come up with a fleet management plan tonight in order for you guys to report this out, and we're behind?
There are
Huge budget.
It's a
This is
huge budget item.
conversation. So I mean, we are not, I mean, I am not prepared at this moment to
No.
pick which of these options.
No,
we're
I'm not
going
either.
to-
I completely agree.
Step one, it feels like, is the detailed report of our current fleet. And then step two would be the plan? Is that how we see it?
So what is?
On the annual
so
reporting.
to Councilmember Garcia's question, what are the steps in the reporting that's required by CARB? Like what do we have to do? And are there thresholds? Are there timeframes? Do we have to do everything right now? Are there steps to it? I think that's what we're all wrestling with, is we don't know what is required in this report and how extensive does it have to be.
I also think, while he's looking, we need a little bit of a reality check. Like, for example, here's a corollary example. We know that they're reporting for the waste separation, and everyone's supposed to be separating, whatever that was 2 years ago, and we know pretty much nobody is doing it, and nobody is reporting it, and nobody is getting fined, and so I don't.
Well, and that was.
And I think we also just need kind of a reality check here that, yes, of course, we could be getting fined $10,000 a day. The likelihood of that seems low, but I don't think anybody here has a sense of like how real the enforcement is here, and is there a way to sort of gather some on the ground intelligence about like what it means to be a year late on this, and whether we should be scrambling like this or whether we should be being more methodical
To that
about
point,
it.
And that's where I was.
Management analyst has put that in his report. He said no city has been held.
Right,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah, no, I
I
understand.
do want to add to that, and
But let me,
and-
hold on one second. So I completely agree. That's where my question was, like, what do we know from other cities?
I didn't.
That's where I was trying to go with
I
it.
got that.
I completely agree. I am convinced that there are other cities that have not completed this whole thing, and I'm also convinced that we're not going to get
There's
that
cities
level
that
of
haven't
thing.
even finished the arena. You know,
Exactly. So
but that is a more
thank you.
important thing that does actually get enforced. So like we sort of need to have a calibration.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Right.
So to supplement that thought, and the silver lining is we are indeed not alone in this. So this impacts local cities around us. So one of the things that staff researched and explored is the St. Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. They could serve as a consultant where nearby cities can make a group or collective purchase together. And there are incentives behind that because there are discounts applied to those group purchases. So collaboratively speaking, we can align with other cities to meet these requirements and reporting.
So I think, I mean, the most important thing that from my perspective, and I'd be curious what others think, is we need to figure out what the report is still very ethereal to me. I don't know what we need to do. I don't know how much time it takes. I don't know how much staff time it takes. I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't know how how rigorous CARB takes on these things, right? Different agencies and different parts of agencies are going to have different things. So I think, to me, the threshold, the most important thing is to figure out what do we need to do with the reporting, when do we need to get the reporting, and like get that nailed first. My second priority is looking at, we have this 6.5 month window right now when we've got rebates that are here, that are going away, that we expect to go away, assuming that the current budget gets passed. Are there things that we can take advantage in that window of anything that is a planned replacement? Because if to use our consultants to take care of that. And then there's the long-term plan, which I'm fine to wait a little bit later, but those first two, to me, are the most pressing and time-critical items. And I see a nod, I see a couple of nods here, so
I mean,
at least I'm not completely
except
off.
for the point we just made, which is, depending on the answer to the first question about what are the requirements
Yes.
for the report, that final thing, that sort of the more comprehensive report may come back around, because to the extent that the reporting requires some.
A big plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully
Yes.
we can, I mean, I don't want to, hopefully we can find a way to
Yes.
meet our requirement without having to, rush through that process, because I'd like that to be a much more thoughtful, methodical process on a long-term basis.
And in your conversations with the COG, have you talked with them at all about the reporting part of it, rather than the group procurement, which I think is a great idea, but right now we've got a compliance issue that we've got to address.
There needs to be further discussion.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the COG on that, yes.
So do we need to make? So we need to make a motion on this. What are we being asked for to do this? This is a report.
How about this? How about we make a motion to continue consideration of municipal fleets with further direction to move forward with looking at grants and such ability to do this in order for you to complete your report.
Right, and to follow the thought, I do agree that the impetus is to be within compliance. That is priority number one. And so following that report, then the strategic thoughts of what that looks like as far as what vehicles will be purchased, where those funds come from, what strategic thoughts are going to follow with the infrastructure, where that's going to be placed, locations, and ancillary benefits of, are we going to have it as a public use charger, or will it be a city charger?
Hold on, but yeah, I completely agree. You're 2 steps down the line, right? We've got to come back. We've got to figure out, like, getting compliance first, right? And I defer to staff on kind of how to do that and what we need to do, whether it's the COG, whether it's talking to CARB, whether it is someone else that can help us with. But to me, that's the most important thing, is to figure out what's it take to be in compliance, and what does that. We're all talking about staff resources here. We know you guys are overtaxed. We know you guys have been doing a huge amount, especially with the fires right now. So to me, it's really critical to figure out, it's like, what do we really need to be doing right now? What's the highest and best use of time? And then from there is to work on the more, strategic and more bigger things.
Mayor, I was just gonna say that, in some cases, state law requires the city council to sign off on reports or plans before they're submitted to the state. So we'll figure out that point. To the extent it's not required of the city council to sign off on a plan or report, we'll work with staff to just submit. So we'll develop that internally and submit. But to the extent it is necessary, then we'll bring this plan approval back to you, I think might be the approach.
So I think that Councilmember Garcia was making the head nod towards continuing this, and I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think priority is this a housing element RENA type report, or is it a fill in the blank report with the supplemental, here's our current fleet on step one? So having an understanding, I think it was to your point of like what the level of this report is like step one.
Yeah. So if I
And
can
maybe
make.
not a step that we need to be involved in.
No.
Yeah.
Agreed. So I think we continue it because of the time frame on this, because we're a year behind on it. I'd like to rather than continuing to a date uncertain, to continue it really to the next meeting. And I think it's very doable is what we need to know is like, how big is the bread box, right? How big is this report? How complicated is it? Like we just need, and what do we need to have city council? So to Attorney Garagosian's point is do we need to sign off on it, or does staff need to do it? And that's a real easy one, is that if we can just rely on staff and say, go do it, great, that's fine. And then we can focus on coming back to the item of strategic purchases and infrastructure that we need for it. But first, let's figure out the compliance part first.
Yeah, and it sounds like staff discovered this in developing the staff report. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm not aware of the regulations, so it'll give at least myself an opportunity to review the regulation and see what the reporting obligation is.
And that same question I would suspect might be worth discussions around, you and your colleagues and other city attorneys, like that sort of on the ground practical, like,
Yeah.
are people really doing this, and to what degree, and how are there workarounds to, Mayor Pro Tem's point about, we don't have this yet, but we will, kind of answer, so that we don't have to sort of do this backwards, like, rush discussion of strategic approaches just so we can fill in a form.
Right.
And if there's anyone that we need, if there's anyone that can come before us to help us with the bigger picture, I think the analogy to SB 1383 is actually a really good one, whereas, and this is where it forks away, is that the 1383 Athens represents lots of cities, and they could speak on it, and they're the ones helping us with the reporting. I don't know if there's someone that's analogous to Athens. Maybe it's someone from the COG or someone else that could come and actually, that's really engaged in this and has talked with cities. That type of person might be really helpful to give us that context of how big this is, because we don't have the expertise on it, and I don't think we should be expected to.
Right, and there are consultants that there are regional partners that we can communicate with that can offer that guidance. So staff can research that and identify that through our next meeting, definitely.
Yeah, and I believe CARB also does this kind of technical advice. They provide this technical advice, at least that's the resource they provide on their website, specifically for this bill that that enforces this requirement.
But CARB wouldn't send someone to the meeting to answer our questions, likely.
Yeah, well, I have no idea, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe we have, if you ask him.
I mean,
I don't know.
the insurance commissioner does, right? I mean.
That's okay. All right. Yeah.
They have regional offices. The CARB's regional office is the South Coast Air Quality Management District.
And I was just thinking that maybe we haven't had a presentation by Director Cacchiotti. Council member. Well, he's a director from the standpoint of the Air District. I was wrong title, but.
Although to be fair, I'm not sure I'm going to ask CARB how stringently they're enforcing their own rules. Like
Anonymous phone call. Anonymous phone call, right?
No name
Presentation
spaces.
on how you're enforcing.
Asking for a friend.
So, do you have enough guidance now? Have we given you enough direction on what we need and kind of in the time frame?
Yes, and I do apologize. I know this is a lot to unpack here, but this is extremely important. And,
Yes.
you know, I think with the rationale that we've said here, I think we have enough to move forward.
And you feel staff has, 2 weeks is enough time for staff to come back with something meaningful?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I mean, it really means a week, right? Because you've got to get a staff report done in a week.
We're going to be busy.
Okay. All right. Great. So then.
We need to actually make that motion though, yeah?
Yeah, that's where, thank you. This is exactly where I was going. So I think we've got a motion to continue this to the next city council meeting.
So moved.
The 27th.
Correct.
Yeah. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are now at the end of the meeting. We've got future meetings, future items, future agenda items. There we go. Do we have any future agenda items that people would like to put on the calendar?
So I don't know how to really address how we would agendize individual residents helping with their testing or their personal property. Because, you know, like there's a difference between city property and personal property. So I'm not sure how to really agendize how we can maybe bring a report back from.
So, if I may,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we could get a report from the County of Public Health
Okay.
on the health impacts from the fires.
Smart.
Does that work?
Are you asking for them to give a report? I mean, I don't know that they have a report yet, right? I'm sure they're still doing it, but, or is the question,
Guidance.
is the question like, is the question, do we want the county to advise as to resources that we could offer our citizens to have this, you know, are there agencies that are doing it, or is it something you can put into your FEMA reimbursement? I mean, all of the sort of the procedural stuff, because, you know, what I heard was that these, you know, I think these residents are asking the city to undertake this program, and, you know, we can obviously talk about that, but I think as a first step, you know, this is not a Sierra Madre specific problem, and, you know, to your point.
So I think that the future agenda item, if I'm trying to bring all of the comments here, is guidance from the County Department of Public Health on what residents can do to health impact within their homes. Did I? Okay, great.
Thank you.
And then I have one, I'd like to get a presentation specifically from the Fire Safe Council. I'd love to have them come and give us an update, hear from them on what they're actually doing.
You had another one that I told you to.
We were drifting into discussion, you said, our future agenda item. It was earlier in the meeting.
The fleet.
No, it was before that.
I thought it was Fire Safe Council.
I thought it was LA County.
I thought it was LA County's.
Oh, yeah.
LA County presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, so then the third one is to, it's related to Mayor Pro Tem Lowe's, is to make sure that we've got information at the Saturday presentation and related to health impacts, so that when the residents come to that meeting, that we're prepared.
So is Saturday's meeting more of a informational, educational thing, or I thought it was more gathering?
It's more gathering information.
Okay.
It's more,
So
but I think and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think we need to be able to, we had 6 or 7 residents that came and expressed concerns on this. I think we need to at least be able to have an initial, you know, FAQ type response on it, saying we will have it at this meeting, or we've invited them to the meeting, or we've got this guidance, or here's the website to go to. Like, that's what that's the direction I'm trying to think of for Saturday.
Which is kind of our report that we're asking from LA County Health, so maybe just saying we have it agendized to have a report.
I can defer to staff on that. It's whatever's.
Because that's almost the same as our report. I mean, the response is almost the same, you're right, as what we're.
Well, and it may be that there are resources out there, and if we reach out to the county to participate in Saturday's meeting, they may say, oh, we can bring this, and then we have that. If not, I think your point is, okay, you don't have that ready yet. What is the county's action plan?
I just want to be responsive to the residents, right? They're going to come and ask on Saturday, we need to have an answer.
Or a plan for an answer.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's probably more likely.
Yes. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I don't want to mislead anyone when I said Los Angeles County officials are coming to the meeting for the next meeting. They weren't coming to speak specifically to the fire and resources available. They're coming to speak about what LA County provides generally. I know the individual coming probably doesn't know anything about that subject specifically. So we'll ask. I don't know that we can get someone in time to have a presentation ready by the next meeting. I just wanted to make it clear, but we will have an LA County official presenting what LA County does for the city generally.
Well, I mean, you should definitely let that person know that they're probably gonna get those questions from the public, and that they may not have to give a whole presentation, but it would be helpful for them to at least have a resource for people to reach out to, or a website, or, you know, something like, so that they can at least offer offer a plan for a plan, you know?
We don't want them caught flat-footed, right? We know what the questions are gonna be. So if they're not the right person, they should just need to have an answer for that. All right. So I haven't been doing this, I just remembered this, but we had in the past had a tradition of asking for a motion to adjourn the meeting. So I'd like to move back to that. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned till May 27th.
We still have to vote.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
I guess we all either moved or seconded, so I guess it was a proxy vote.
Mayor didn't vote.
Thank you.
Well, it's been